Join my channel. Night was no longer silent. This time, the city was not divided into two. It was divided into three. Layla's order, the free vampires, and the third group that appeared. People called them the Watchers, but this was the name given by the public. Among themselves, they used another name, the Vain. Aras looked at himself in the mirror. This time he had a reflection, but his eyes, they did not fully belong to a human. The transformation is not complete, he said. Something is missing. Layla was standing by the window. It is not missing, she said in a calm voice. It is suppressed. Aras turned to her. What do you mean? For the first time, Layla hesitated. You did not go through a pure transformation. Something was injected into you. 14 years ago. In the warehouse. Silence. In Aras's mind, a door slowly opened. For the first time, he saw a clear detail. Someone in a white lab coat. And around his neck, there was a symbol, a shape like a vein. That same night, in the old metro tunnels under the city, someone was walking. He looked human, but he had no pulse. His phone rang. Subject 47 has been activated, said a voice on the other side. The observation phase is over. The man stopped. Collection? He asked. A short silence. No. Trigger. Aras's eyes turned completely black for a moment. Just for 1 second. Then they returned to normal. Layla saw it, and for the first time she was afraid. Because she knew those eyes. She had seen them only once before. In the laboratory. And the name of that experiment was the Blood Rising Protocol. At the deepest point of the metro tunnels, there was no light. But it was not dark either, because someone was there. When he walked, there was no sound of footsteps, but everyone could feel him. His name was Dr. Kerem. The public did not know him. In government records he was dead, but the Watchers called him by another name, the Architect. Who is this man? 15 years ago he was a biochemist. He was the leader of the human-vampire hybrid project. According to official records, he died in a laboratory explosion. In reality, he sabotaged the project himself because he changed its purpose. He did not want to destroy vampires. He wanted to evolve them. And Aras, he was the first successful subject. Subject 47. Kerem looked at the large screen on the wall. On the screen, there was Aras. For a moment, Aras's eyes turned black. Kerem smiled slightly. Do you see? He said to his team behind him. The human side is still resisting. One of the Watchers asked, What about Layla? Kerem's face became serious. Layla made a mistake. She protected him and delayed the process. Silence. Then he said, If Aras is not triggered, the city will collapse. Kerem is not a vampire, but he is not fully human either. He experimented on himself. His heart beats, but slowly. His blood flows, but it is dark. The sun does not burn him, but he has no shadow. His real goal. According to Kerem, the world is changing. Humans are weak. Vampires are unstable. A new species is needed. Controlled. Superior. Obedient. And Aras. He is the prototype of this new species. Kerem walks closer to the camera. On the screen, Aras is saving someone. Kerem whispers, "It is time to choose, Subject 47. He presses a button. Suddenly, Aras falls to his knees. The veins on his neck turn black. Layla screams, "Kerem, stop!" Aras lifts his head. This time, his eyes are completely black. And for the first time, he does not speak like a human. Night fell over the city like a heavy blanket. But this darkness was not normal. The wind was blowing. Streetlights were on. People were going home. Everything looked normal. It only looked normal because that night, an invisible pulse started to beat in the city. And that pulse was rising from Aras's chest. Aras was on his knees. His breathing was uneven. 2 different rhythms were beating in his chest. One was fast, like a human heart. The other was slow, like something else. He held his head with both hands. Then the images came. They were not his memories. In a side street, a young vampire, almost crazy from hunger. On the roof of a building, a lonely female vampire. She chained herself to stop drinking blood. In a hospital basement, an old man, his eyes shining in the dark. Aras could feel all of them. Their hunger, their fear, their loneliness. "This is not mine," he whispered, but a voice came from inside him, deep, cold, calm. "We were incomplete without you." Aras opened his eyes. At that moment, something changed in the city. In a nightclub, a vampire stopped dancing in the middle of the crowd. The woman on the roof dropped her chains. The man in the hospital basement lifted his head. They all looked in the same direction, to the center, to Aras. When Layla found him, he was on the ground. He was sweating, but his eyes were open. "I can feel them," Aras said. Layla's face turned white. "How many?" When Aras answered, his voice was different. "All of them." The word fell into the room. All. This was not part of the plan. Kerem wanted a controllable hybrid, but this was not control. This was connection. Underground, behind steel walls, Kerem Vardar was watching the screens. The red dots on the map were no longer moving. They were all connected to one yellow center with thin lines. Like one nervous system. Like one mind. "This is impossible," one technician said. Kerem stayed silent. He moved closer to the screen. Aras's brain waves were synchronized with the other vampires. "No," Kerem said slowly. "This is not impossible. This is evolution." But deep in his eyes, there was something else. Fear. Because Aras was not only a receiver, he was also a transmitter. Aras stood up. He was shaking, but he was conscious. He closed his eyes. He focused on one vampire in the city. The young one. The one who was almost crazy from hunger. "Stop," he said in his mind. The vampire froze just before attacking a human. His hands stopped in the air. His breathing slowed. He stepped back. A thin line of blood came from Aras's eye. Layla held him. "This can destroy you," she said. Aras slowly lifted his head. "Either it destroys me, or it saves them." The night continued. Aras was alone. He stood in front of a mirror. He looked at his reflection. For 1 second, the reflection moved later than him. Aras frowned. The reflection smiled. But Aras did not smile. "What are you?" he whispered. The reflection spoke. "I am the version of you that is not afraid." Aras stepped back. "I did not want this power." The reflection's eyes turned dark. "Power is not wanted. It is taken." The glass suddenly cracked, but it did not break, because Aras stepped back. For now. At the same time, the vampires in the city were restless. They felt a call, a direction, a center. For the first time, they were not alone. But for the first time, they were not free either. In the final scene, Aras was standing on top of a roof. The wind was strong. Under the city lights, his eyes turned completely black for a moment. But this time, there was no fear, only awareness. "They are not alone anymore," he said. He paused. "And neither am I." Far away, underground, Kerem closed the screen. He whispered, "Subject 47. Now I will have to stop you." The night grew heavier, and for the first time the city held its breath. Morning had come, but for Aras, time was no longer a straight line. There was no difference between night and day, because when he closed his eyes, darkness did not come. Voices came. Whispers. Hundreds of them. Aras was sitting on his bed. His eyes were open, but he was not really looking. A woman's fear passed through his mind. A man's anger. A child's hunger. They were all vampires. They were all connected to him. He tried to cut the connection. He held his breath. He tried to slow his heart. But the second rhythm, that deep, heavy heartbeat, was getting stronger. Then the voice came again. "Resisting is tiring." Aras clenched his teeth. "You are not me." Silence. Then the reflection in the mirror tilted its head. "I am the version of you that is not afraid." Aras jumped to his feet. He walked toward the mirror. This time, the reflection did not move late. It moved at the same time, but its eyes were different, completely black. "What is your name?" Aras asked. The reflection smiled slightly. "I have no name. Because I am not just a part. I was born after the trigger." At that moment, something happened in the city. A vampire lost control. Aras felt it. The burning in his throat became his own hunger. He fell to his knees. No. But the second mind whispered, "You are not fully human anymore." Underground, Kerem was watching the screens. Aras's brain activity had split into two. Two different frequencies. The division has started, a technician said. Kerem slowly shook his head. No, this is not division. This is evolutionary defense. The mind is rejecting control. Kerem's voice became hard. 40% trigger. The technician hesitated. This could break him. Kerem did not blink. Either he breaks, or he completes. Suddenly, Aras screamed. His eyes turned completely black. The windows in the room shook. All the vampires in the city took a breath at the same time. The connection grew stronger. Aras was no longer only feeling. He was guiding. But he was not fully conscious. The second being spoke. Make them kneel. For a moment, the vampires in the city felt their knees shake. Some of them really fell to their knees. At that moment, Layla entered the room. What she saw froze her blood. Aras was in the air. His feet were not touching the ground. His eyes looked like dark emptiness. Aras! Her voice changed something. The connection shook. Aras fell to the ground, breathing hard. His eyes returned to normal. The second mind stepped back, but it did not disappear. When night came again, Aras was sitting on the roof. He was watching the city. What do you want? He whispered into the darkness. The answer came quickly. To complete. Kerem left you unfinished. I will complete you. Aras closed his eyes. This time there was no fear. Only awareness. If he lost control, he would not only lose himself, but all of them. Underground, Kerem stands in front of a locked glass room. Inside, there is a woman. Her eyes are closed. Her veins are black. On the file, it says, Subject 48. Kerem whispers, It is time to wake her up. It was raining. The city looked clean. But some stains cannot be washed away with water. Layla was standing in front of the window. Behind her, Aras was sleeping. At least his body was sleeping. But Layla knew. His mind was never completely quiet anymore. Without turning around, she spoke. How long have you been listening to me? Aras's voice came from the darkness. From the beginning. Layla closed her eyes. How much do you know? A short silence. The laboratory. Protocol 47. And me standing on the wrong side of the table. The rain hit the window harder. 15 years ago. White walls. Cold lights. Young Layla was signing a file. Kerem was standing in front of her. This is not voluntary, Layla said. This is desperation. Kerem was calm. Evolution has never been voluntary. There was a photo of a young man on the table. Aras. Only 18 years old. He had lost his family. He was angry. He was alone. Layla looked at the photo for a long time. You will kill him, she said. Kerem shook his head. No, I will rewrite him. The truth. Layla signed the paper. Because that day, 3 vampire attacks happened in the city. Because people died. Because she was afraid. Kerem offered her a solution. A controllable hybrid. A leader who could create connection. Someone who could guide the vampires. That person became Aras. But the plan was this. If he lost control, he would be erased. Now Aras stood up. He slowly walked toward Layla. You chose me. Layla did not look away. Yes, because I saw you as strong. Aras's voice became hard. No, because you saw me as broken. This sentence stopped Layla, because it was true. Aras was broken, and broken things are easy to shape. Underground. Kerem was standing in front of Subject 48's glass room. The woman's name was written in the file. Mira Aksoy. Age 29. Status: stable hybrid draft. Sleep mode: active. Kerem put his hand on the glass. He will try to save her, he said. To himself. And you will stop him. He pressed a button. Mira's eyes moved slightly, but they did not open. Not yet. Confrontation Aras stood right in front of Layla. Did you plan to kill me? Layla's voice was very quiet. Yes. Silence. Aras's eyes turned dark. The connection grew stronger. The vampires in the city became restless. Layla felt it. Aras, if you lose control, thousands of people can die. Aras spoke slowly. I did not lose control. He paused. You tried to control me. That difference was important. Midnight. Aras walked into the street alone. He felt the connection. Hundreds of vampires were waiting. For him. Without knowing it. For their center. For their leader. For the first time, Aras made a conscious decision. He made the connection stronger. They all lifted their heads at the same time. Layla was watching from far away, with fear, because this was no longer an experiment. This was the birth of a leader. Underground, Kerem watched. The screens. The red dots on the map formed a perfect circle. Around one center. Kerem whispered, Fine. Be a leader, so it will be more meaningful when I destroy you. Final scene. Inside the glass room, Mira slowly opened her eyes. Her eyes were black, but there was awareness in them. And the first word she said was, Aras. Behind the glass, time moved differently. When Mira opened her eyes, the first thing she felt was not cold. It was silence, deep, empty. Endless dot. She took a breath, but her lungs did not burn. Her heart beat, but the rhythm was not human. Dot on the other side of the glass. Kerem was standing. They looked at each other. Mira spoke. Her voice was dry but clear. How many years? Kerem answered. 13. Mira lowered her head. Slightly. You failed. A small smile appeared on Kerem's face. No, I waited for you. Awakening. The glass door opened. Mira slowly walked out. When she stood up, she did not stumble. Her muscles were ready. Her mind was clear. Kerem walked around her. How do you feel? Mira closed her eyes. She paused for a moment. Then she spoke. There is a connection. Kerem's eyes became serious. Can you feel him? Mira lifted her head. Yes, the center. Aras. For the first time, Kerem frowned. That is impossible. Mira stayed calm. You connected him. But I stayed outside the connection. City at the same time. Aras suddenly felt something. Something had changed. There was now an empty space inside the connection, an area he had never felt before. It was like a knot in the network that could not be untied. He closed his eyes. He focused, and for the first time, he could not reach someone. He whispered, "Who is there?" There was no answer. That someone was watching him. Underground. Kerem moved closer to Mira. You are different, he said. Protocol 48 was designed for pure control. Mira tilted her head. Control. She took one step. She moved so fast that the technicians were shocked. She reached one of their throats. But she did not touch him. I am not controlled. Kerem's eyes shined. That is why you will work. First test. Kerem opened a screen. Aras's brain waves. He turned to Mira. Enter the connection. Mira closed her eyes. 1 second. 2 seconds. Then, in Aras's mind, an image appeared. A woman. In the dark. Her eyes were black. But there was no fear. Who are you? Aras said. Mira's voice echoed. In his mind, I'm not like you. Aras tried to make the connection stronger. But Mira pushed back. Soft but firm. I do not connect. Aras opened his eyes. This was new. This was a threat. Confrontation. Night. An old iron bridge connecting two sides of the city. Aras was there. He had felt the weak point in the connection. And Mira came. Silently. The wind moved her hair. For the first time, they stood face to face. Aras spoke. Who are you? Mira did not look away. A backup plan. Silence. Aras took one step. He tried the connection. Nothing happened. Mira moved closer and whispered, You are a pack. I am alone. This sentence touched something inside Aras, because loneliness was still his greatest fear. Underground. Kerem looked at the map. Now there were 2 yellow points. They were not connected. 2 centers. 2 possibilities. Kerem spoke slowly. Either they will fight. He paused. Or they will unite. On the bridge, Aras and Mira looked at each other. The vampires in the city became restless. Because for the first time, the center was divided in 2. And the balance was broken. That night, the moon was darker than normal. Not red. Not grey. It was like it had pulled its light back. The city was restless. Because the center was divided into 2. The bridge. Aras and Mira were still standing face to face. The wind was strong, but neither of them moved. Aras tried the connection again. He pushed it. The heartbeats of the vampires in the city became faster. Myra's eyes turned dark. She took one step closer. "Stop forcing me," she said. Aras clenched his teeth. "This city is my responsibility." Myra tilted her head. "No," she said. "This city is your chain." That sentence stopped Aras, because it was true. The connection was not only power. It was also a burden. Hundreds of hunger feelings, hundreds of fears, hundreds of dark thoughts. All of them were inside him. "You are carrying them," Mira said. "I am not carrying them." Underground. Kerem was looking at the screens. 2 yellow dots. Aras, central network. Mira, independent signal. A technician asked, "Which one is stronger?" Kerem did not answer. He opened another file. Its name was Trigger Phase 2. "Sometimes," he said calmly, "to measure power you must break the balance." He pressed a button. The city. One vampire suddenly lost control. He was young. He had just finished his transformation. He was shaken by the connection, because he was stuck between 2 centers. Aras felt the pain. Myra felt it too. At the same time, they reacted. The vampire attacked a human in a street. This time Aras said, "Stop." Myra said, "Let him free." 2 opposite commands. The vampire screamed. He held his head. His veins turned black. He died. There was no blood. He just went out from inside. Silence. For 1 second, the whole city was completely silent. The connection froze. Aras stepped back. "What did you do?" he whispered to Myra. Myra's face had no expression. "I didn't do it." Aras felt Kerem. This was not natural. This was interference. For the first time there was anger in Aras's eyes. But it was not wild anger. It was cold. Crack. Aras stepped closer to Myra. "This is a test." Myra did not look away. "He is using us against each other." Aras thought for a moment, then for the first time he relaxed the connection. The pressure on the vampires became weaker. Myra felt it. And for the first time she did not attack Aras. He took 1 step back. "We can destroy him together," Aras said. Myra's eyes became narrow. "I don't work with anyone." But her voice was not as strong as before. Layla far away, Layla felt what happened. The death of a vampire. This was not natural. It was a message. She reached Aras. "Kerem started Phase 2, she said. "I know," Aras answered calmly. "He killed someone." Layla's voice was shaking. "This is only the beginning." Aras looked at the sky. The moon was almost black. "No," he said. "This is a warning. End of the chapter." Underground. Kerem looked at the new map. The point of the dead vampire was gone. But there was something else. The connection was not weaker. It was stronger. Because Aras reduced the pressure on purpose. Kerem smiled a little. Good, he said. Now try to lead with empathy. Let's see how long it will last. On the bridge, Mira turned her back and started walking. Aras called after her. If something like this happens again. Mira stopped but did not turn around. If it happens again, she said calmly, I will not stop it. Then she disappeared. Aras was alone. But for the first time he knew his loneliness was not absolute. The city was breathing, but it was fragile, because there were two centers and one architect designing the war. It was 3 minutes past midnight. The city was living a normal Tuesday night. Young people were laughing in a cafe. A taxi was waiting at a red light dot in an apartment. The television was on dot, and in the emergency room of a hospital there was the smell of blood. Hospitalaris suddenly felt it. A scream passed through the connection. This was not a vampire. It was a human, but the blood was not normal. It was strong. Powerful. Triggering. At the same time. 3 vampires in different corners of the hospital lifted their heads. Hunger spread like a wave. Aras closed his eyes. No, but he was too late. The first footage. Something was recorded on the hospital security cameras. A nurse was thrown against a wall. A man's eyes turned black. Movement faster. Then human speed. Blood. A scream. And then darkness. But this time, someone deleted the video. Not Kerem. Not the government. A journalist. His name was Emre Kan. He was an investigative reporter. He did not believe in conspiracy theories, but he liked searching for proof. When he heard about the hospital attack, he went there. He found the video. He slowed it down. He zoomed in, and he saw that frame. Black eyes. Speed that was not human. Emre whispered, This is impossible. But one thing was possible. The truth was now recorded. Chaos in the city. The hospital attack became bigger news. Rumors spread on social media. Drug gang. Organ mafia. Biological experiment. But a video leaked. Only 3 seconds. Black eyes. Those 3 seconds were enough. Aras was standing on a roof. The connection was shaking. The vampires were restless. Their hunger was stronger. Because the blood in the hospital, drug gang, organ mafia, biological experiment. But a video leaked. Only 3 seconds. Black eyes. Those 3 seconds were enough. Aras was standing on a roof. The connection was shaking. The vampires were restless. Their hunger was stronger. Because the blood in the hospital was not normal. Aras turned to Layla. What was that blood? Layla was silent. Her silence was the answer. Layla. She closed her eyes. Kerem started changing human blood. Aras's face became hard. Mira was walking alone. She felt the blood too. So he is increasing the hunger. Yes, to make us visible. But she was not affected. because her protocol was different. Kerem did not design her to depend on hunger. Mira stopped. Far away, she saw the hospital video on a television screen. People were panicking. And for the first time, she felt fear. This war would not stay secret anymore. Underground. Kerem was watching the new data. Social media graphics were rising. Search trends were increasing. Black eyes. Hospital. Non-human attack. Kerem spoke calmly. People must be afraid. A technician asked, "Won't this make control harder?" Kerem smiled. No. Fear can be directed. Confrontation. Aras found Mira. Not on the bridge this time. In the center of the city. Sirens were sounding in the distance. This is his work. Aras said. Mira nodded. I know. He is using humans as bait. Aras's eyes became dark. The connection moved like a storm. Mira stepped closer. If you act with anger, he wins. Aras looked at her. And you? Mira's voice was cold. I do not act with emotion. Aras answered strongly. That is why you are alone. Those words stopped Mira. For the first time, there was a crack in her eyes. Journalist Emre was watching the video again. On his computer. He froze the frame. Black eyes. He moved closer to the screen. This is not a disease, he said. To himself, this is a species. At that moment, a shadow appeared behind him. The light went off. The screen turned black, but the camera was still recording. The last frame, 2 black eyes, and a whisper. You are too close to the truth. The computer screen was still recording. The lights were off. In journalist Emre's room, there was only the pale light of the monitor and those 2 black eyes. But those eyes did not belong to Emre. Emre slowly stood up from his chair. He had seen the presence behind him. He did not run. Are you going to kill me? He asked. Silence. Mira stepped out of the shadows. Calm. Controlled. If you die, she said, someone else will replace you. Emre's voice did not shake. So it's true. Mira did not move closer. Not yet. Emre swallowed. What do you mean, not yet? Mira looked at the screen. The image with the black eyes was still there. You don't know the whole truth. Emre whispered. Then tell me. On the roof, Aras felt the connection moving. A vampire was in contact with a human. But there was no attack. There was a conversation. This was something new. Aras felt Mira. He felt that she was making a choice. He did not force the connection. He only watched. The truth at home. Mira looked at Emre. What you heard about is not a disease. It is a species. Emre's eyes became wide. Do you mean vampires? Mira did not answer. That was enough. Emre's mind was working fast. What about the hospital? Mira's voice became harder. It was a test. to make us visible. Emra took a breath. Who is doing this? Mira was silent for a moment. Aras's name crossed her mind, but she did not say it. An architect. Underground. Kerem was watching Emra's home on the screens. He saw Mira. He smiled. Good, he said. First contact. A technician asked, should we stop it? Kerem shook his head. No. Human fear must grow. Breaking Point Emery turned to his computer. If I publish this, the city will fall into chaos. Mira spoke. Quietly, if you publish it, people will die. And if I don't, they will still die. Emra stopped for a moment. What about you? Mira's eyes turned dark. I don't die. That sentence changed. The air in the room. For the first time, Emre was truly afraid. But inside his fear, there was something else. Curiosity. Aras decided not to wait anymore. He made the connection stronger on purpose. A call spread in the minds of the vampires in the city. Gathered at an old theatre building. Abandoned. Dark. 23 vampires came. Different ages. Different pasts. But they all looked at the same center. Aras stood in the middle of the stage. We cannot hide. Anymore, he said. Silence. Either we are controlled. He paused. Or we control ourselves. This was the first speech. The first true leadership. The connection moved. But this time there was no pressure. There was a choice. Emra's choice. At home, Emra opened the video. He wrote the title. There is a non-human threat in the city. His finger was on the publish button. Mira was watching him. If you press it, Mira said, there is no going back. Emra did not look away. There is already no going back. He pressed the button. The video spread. Within minutes, thousands of views. Comments. Panic. Conspiracy theories. But this time the image was clear. The black eyes could not be denied. Sirens started in the city. Not police. Special unit vehicles. Underground. Kerem stood up. Now we begin, he said. In the theatre. Aras closed his eyes. The connection shook. Human fear came like a wave. Mira looked at the city lights. She whispered, there is no turning back now. The city was not silent anymore. There was the smell of fear. Morning. Istanbul woke up with the sound of sirens. But these were not ambulances. Black military vehicles closed the main roads. The official statement was short and clear. Viral biological threat. People panicked. But the real panic started underground. Underground facility. Kerem was standing in front of the screens. Emra's video had passed millions of views. The image of the black eyes was everywhere. Kerem spoke. Slowly. Plan B. A map opened. The city was divided into red points. Cleaning begins. The theatre. Aras felt the connection stronger than ever before. A scream, a real scream, then it stopped. A vampire fell. Aras opened his eyes. They found us. The doors exploded. Special forces in black uniforms entered. The bullets were not normal. They were silver-coated. The first contact was bloody. The fight. The vampires were fast, but they were not ready. One soldier was caught by the throat. Another soldier took out a wooden stake. He pushed it into a vampire's chest. The connection shook. Aras fell to his knees. He felt a mind disappear. This was not the first time, but this time it was clear. The war had started. Mira was watching the building from across the street. She was late. There was an explosion. Windows broke. Inside, vampires were trying to escape. A soldier saw Mira. He pointed his gun at her. Mira moved before the bullet. She threw the soldier to the ground. But she did not kill him. She only made him unconscious, because Mira had not crossed that line yet. Aras's choice. Aras walked between the soldiers. Bullets entered his body and slowed him down, but they did not stop him. One soldier looked into his eyes. He was young. He was afraid. Aras raised his hand. The connection opened. He touched the soldier's mind. And for the first time, he felt a human mind. Fear. Family. A child. Aras stepped back. He did not kill him, but something changed at that moment. The connection became wider, toward humans. A dangerous change. Loss. When the fight ended, the theater was burning. Out of 23 vampires, 11 were left. 12 were dead. Real death. The connection was full of empty spaces. Aras was still standing, but for the first time, he felt alone. Mira came next to him. "This is only the beginning," she said. Aras looked at the city lights. "No," he said. "This is a declaration. Double quotes. EMRE. At home." Emra was watching the screens. Live broadcasts. Anti-terror operation. Biological crisis. But Emra knew the truth. His phone rang. The number was Private. He answered. Kerem's voice was calm. "Did you see what you have done?" Emra's voice did not shake. "I showed the truth." Kerem laughed softly. "No," he said. "You started the hunt." The call ended. Kerem stood in front of a big screen. Aras's image was enlarged. "I want him alive," he said. "If we catch the leader, the group will fall apart." The screen went dark. Military vehicles increased in the city. Mira and Aras stood in front of the burning theater. Aras whispered, "We will not hide anymore." Mira answered, "Then the blood will truly rise." The city was divided into two, but the line was not on the ground. It was in people's minds. Istanbul was not the old Istanbul anymore. Curfew at night. ID controls during the day. The official statement was still the same. Biological threat. But people were changing. The word colon vampire.emre was not hiding. He was not running away. He was writing. His new title, Who is Human? In his video, he said, if they were monsters, they would have killed us all already. So that means they are making a choice. This sentence spread through the city like a wave. For the first time, someone described vampires not as absolute evil, but as something unknown. Underground, Kerem was listening to reports. 11 targets. Eliminated. Resistance is increasing. Kerem nodded. Resistance is good. An officer asked, mass capture? Kerem answered calmly, no. I want the leader. Aras was not hiding anymore. He had expanded the connection. The remaining vampires were gathering around him, but something had changed. At the edge of the connection, there were human minds. Fear, anger, but also something else, empathy, the mind of a young girl. In a hospital room, her black eyes were newly formed. Half transformation. Aras opened his eyes. There is someone stuck between human and vampire, he said to Mira. Mira's face became serious. Kerem's laboratory, hospital. The young girl's name was Elif. She was 17 years old. Transformation serum was moving. In her veins, this was Kerem's plan. Controlled creation. Controlled fear. Elif looked at herself in the mirror. As her eyes turned black, she cried, I am still human. She whispered, but her heartbeat was no longer human. Aras pushed the connection. He touched Elif's mind. This time he asked for permission. What is your name? Elif trembled. Who is speaking? Me. Are you human? Aras paused. I don't know. This answer was new for both of them. Street. A military unit was searching a neighborhood. A man shouted, My son is missing. A soldier pushed him. Mira was watching. From the shadows. This time she stepped in. She stopped the soldier. But she did not kill him. The man looked at Mira. With fear. With gratitude. At the same time. In that moment. Mira understood. This was not about species anymore. It was about power. Confrontation. Night. Aras and Mira entered. The hospital. The alarm was silenced. The corridor was empty. They found Elif. The young girl was shaking. Am I a monster? She asked. Aras knelt down. Not unless you choose to be. For the first time, Mira looked at Aras and accepted that. He was the leader. Kerem watching underground. Kerem leaned toward the monitor. Good. A technician asked. Intervene. Kerem smiled. No. Let him save her. The more he connects, the weaker he becomes. Kerem's plan was not only hunting, it was opening the connection to humans. Breaking Aras. From the inside, Aras held Elif's hand. The connection opened. This time, not only vampires, a human mind joined too. Some people in the city felt a sudden chill, like a dream. Short, but real. Mira noticed it. What did you do? Aras answered slowly. I made the wall thinner. At the same time, Kerem whispered, Perfect. Somewhere in the city, a child woke up in his sleep, with black eyes. The night was quiet. But this silence was not natural. It felt like the city was holding its breath. Elif. Elif's heart was beating with two rhythms. One human. One something else. Ras and Mira brought her to a temporary shelter under the ruins of the theatre. Elif looked at her hands. Her veins turned dark, then normal again. What am I becoming? She asked. Aras did not answer. For the first time he felt nothing. Clear in the connection. Elif was half open, half closed. The city. That same night in Istanbul. Strange things happened. A man saw a memory in his dream that was not his. A woman suddenly felt someone else's fear. A child said to his mother, Mom, someone is listening to us. The wall had become thinner. The connection was leaking. Underground. Kerem studied the reports. Neural anomalies are increasing. A scientist showed a graph on the screen. This is not only vampire influence. Kerem lowered his head. No. This is adaptation. The second phase of his plan was starting. The serum was not only creating transformation anymore, it was also creating the ability to connect. Kerem whispered, Evolution is being accelerated. Elif's crisis. At midnight. Elif screamed. Her eyes turned black, but not completely. One eye was dark, the other was human. Aras entered the connection. But Elif's mind was divided into two. One side was hungry. One side was afraid. Mira tried to hold Elif. Suddenly, Elif threw Mira against the wall. The power was uncontrolled. Aras shouted, Elif, choose. Elif cried, I want to stay human. At that moment, the connection exploded. Hundreds of people in the city stopped. At the same time, for 1 second there was emptiness. Hearts beat in the same rhythm. Then everything returned to normal. But nothing was normal anymore. Aras fell to his knees. Blood came from his nose. Mira held him. It's growing. Aras whispered, I didn't do this. The truth. Kerem looked at the monitor. This time, he was not smiling. The data was more than he expected. This is uncontrolled. A scientist spoke with fear. Sir, the connection is spreading like a virus. For the first time, Kerem hesitated. No, he said. The main carrier is Aras. But the graph showed something different. A new center. Elif. Elif awakens. Elif opened her eyes. She was completely calm now. Her eyes were normal, but she could hear everyone's heartbeat around her. She looked at Aras. I can feel you. Then she looked at Mira. You too. Then she looked outside. And them. Aras understood. The connection did not belong only to vampires anymore. Elif had become a bridge. Confrontation. The shelter door opened. Someone entered. No alarm. No sound. Kerem. No guards. No weapon. Only eye contact. Mira wanted to attack immediately. Aras raised his hand. Kerem spoke. Do you see? This is inevitable. Aras was angry. You did this. Kerem shook his head. No, you started it. Elif stood up. I am not an experiment. Kerem looked at her. You are the future. Kerem stopped at the door. At 13, the city will decide. Aras asked, How?